pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Note to residents, all citizens are welcome to attend meetings in person. To view the live meeting remotely, citizens are encouraged to watch the live stream on Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel or live broadcast on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. To listen to the meeting remotely, citizens may call in using the number 1-929-205-6099. To participate in the meeting remotely, citizens may join the Zoom webinar. Meetings are recorded and archived in Franklin TV on Franklin Town Hall TV YouTube channel and shown repeatedly on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. The Zoom webinar detail ID number is 837-6897-1986. Any participants who wish to speak during the webinar must enter their full name and email address when joining the webinar. All participants will be automatically muted upon joining the webinar. In order to speak, participants will need to select the raise hand function to request to be unmuted. All speakers will be required to state their full name and street address before commenting. Announcements from the chair. The meeting is being recorded by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29. The chair identifies Mike LeBlanc is going to try to zoom in, but he is traveling for work and has a meeting at 6, so he might be, Jamie, keep an eye on it, he might be zooming in.
Yep.
I'm not sure.
Got it.
There are no upcoming town-sponsored community events, so citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda, in compliance with Chapter 30A, Section 20. The open meeting law, the council cannot engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The council may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Nothing herein shall prevent the town administrator from correcting a misstatement of fact. Do we have anybody in the audience that is, please state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Heather Zolowski and I live at 51 Anthony Road. I am a 17-year resident and taxpayer in the town of Franklin, the parent of a former FHS alumni and a parent of a current FHS student, a 7th grader at CPS. And I have worked for the Benjamin Franklin Classical Charter Public School for 18 years and have served as a school leader for the past 12. I am here this evening to follow up on inaccurate information presented to the town council regarding BFCCPS at the December 3rd meeting. BFCCPS has been a public school option for Franklin families for 31 years. During my time, we have worked collaboratively with 3 superintendents and 2 town administrators to support public education in Franklin. Given this long history of partnership, it was disappointing that inaccurate information was shared. A town council member asked if there was a cap on the number of students from Franklin that could attend charter schools, and the answer provided was no, there is no cap. Charter school enrollment is capped in the state law and regulation. In districts not in the lowest performing 10% statewide, no more than 9% of net school spending may go to Commonwealth charter schools. While it was stated on December 3rd that there are no enrollment caps on charter schools, there are clear limits. Charter schools cannot enroll an unlimited number of students from Franklin. According to DESE's fiscal 2026 projections, Franklin is at a 5.7% net school spending, well below the 9% cap. Expansion of the FCCPS has not negatively impacted the Franklin Public Schools. The FCCPS received approval in 2014 to regionalize and serve 14 towns in addition to Franklin. Since then, Franklin enrollment has declined. Prior to regionalization, 422 Franklin students attended the FCCPS. In 2019, when we moved to 500 Financial Park to begin expansion, 375 students were enrolled at the FCCPS. And today, although we are at fully enrolled expansion of 900, only 312 students attend from Franklin. 110 fewer than before regionalization and expansion. Charter school reimbursement. District schools are reimbursed for students attending charter schools at the rate of 100% in year 1 of attendance, 60% in year 2, and 40% in year 3. As a member of the board of the Massachusetts Charter Public School Association, the FCCPS continues to strongly advocate to the state level for full reimbursement to districts as intended in the statute. While there were more inconsistencies in the answers provided to the town council on December 3rd, I feel like those were the three most important to correct. If the town council or the finance committee would like a more detailed presentation on charter school funding or enrollment, I would be happy to provide that. Please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions. Some of you will be attending our capstone presentations next week. We have invited all of you to attend. If you're available to attend, you have an opportunity to see the impact that our students are having on the community around them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience? Joe, can I state your name and your address, Joe?
Pine Tree Inn. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Joe McGann, Lot 1 resident of Franklin, retired at 120 Blue Street here in Franklin. I'm here before you tonight for the 2 vacant seats that exist right now on the zoning board of
Yeah, you can't talk about that, Joe, because it's on the agenda tonight. You can speak then.
not on it.
You have to wait. You have to wait.
Is my application part of your agenda tonight, or is the application that's been submitted by the 2 applicants and by Mr. Hellman on your agenda? Mine is not on your agenda.
No, it isn't, but the
Vacancies.
yeah, thank you. The vacancy is, go ahead, James.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So as I explained to Joe and everybody else, the town charter is clear. The town administrator nominates a member of a board or committee, the council ratifies them. It's not an a la carte, it's not like 5 candidates go before you. There's 1 nomination before you tonight. Mr. McCann's nomination and application are not on the agenda tonight. It is not being considered by the board and cannot be considered by the board. The council cannot amend the resolution tonight, can't change it. It's a yay or nay, up or down vote on the 2 candidates for ZBA. Thank you.
But he cannot talk about this because it's on the agenda tonight, right?
Correct. And the chair has full discretion to call on any member in the audience or anybody else during that item. if he
During
wants
that
to.
item.
That's correct.
Exactly.
That's up
So
to
Joe,
the chair's
you'll have to-
discretion.
You'll have to talk when we go to that.
Fine, I will. I'd just like to make one statement back to Mr. Helen. Him and I had a lengthy conversation yesterday. He did not mention any of this yesterday in our conversation. We spoke on the phone a good 45 minutes. I'm going to defer, as the chairman has said. You are contradicting 100% what you said to me yesterday on the phone. I want the public to know that, and I'd like the council to know that.
Joe, I'll debate it all night if you want.
Yeah, we can.
That's not true.
Yes.
No, it's not.
Again,
You know it's not.
why would I say it?
Well, we can bring this all up.
Why would I say it?
We can bring this all up. We can bring this all up when we.
Not true, it's you.
Dave.
Dave Tallahan, 30 Plain Street. With budget season coming up, though, I think it's going to be 355 East Central. I'll be living for a while. Here with the school committee update. So we had our first school committee meeting of the new year just a couple of weeks ago. Kicked off a marathon session about 4.5 hours. I'll do my best to kind of recap it within 3 minutes. So first, we had an update from the high school about the program of studies, and innovation was really kind of like a key word that night, as they're really trying to figure out, what classes can be offered given the financial realities that we all have to kind of live in. Folks may know we had to cut Latin from like a world language at the high school. But what they're able to, what they've kind of presented out, what they're looking to do is have Latin with a legal study and Latin with a medical study. For those kiddos either that were already kind of in the program and then had to have the program itself cut, or just looking to kind of go on to the legal field or medical field in college and post-grad. Also with innovation, for a while now, they've been working on a grant. They were able to secure a grant for the Innovative Career Pathways. This is like a state-recognized program that takes kids that are in pathways we're looking at really in the business sector and healthcare, and brings them together through classes, but also through guest presentations with entrepreneur internships with a lot of different programs that are out there, 100-hour capstone project in these fields. So kids are not only kind of learning and getting a great education within Franklin High School, but also seeing exactly what it is in the career that they're looking to kind of pursue. We had an amazing presentation from the Office of Teaching and Learning. It was a two-parter. The first part talks all about how do we teach our kids in 2025. The systems that we use, the curriculum that we're looking at, and how do we best utilize every tax dollar when we're kind of coming in, teaching our kiddos. Part two was then, what's the results? And they showed some amazing MCAS data that talked about how we compare both to ourselves and our past, but also in kind of comparable neighborhoods and towns across the Commonwealth. Cannot do that justice. It was an amazing presentation the time I have here, but if you have an opportunity, check out the Office of Teaching and Learning presentation. It's phenomenal. Lastly, I'll close. We had a great update talking about the daycare center that Franklin Public Schools is looking to kind of roll out. This was talked about when we were doing the big reorganization. We had some available space over at ECTC on Pond, formerly Kennedy. And Lifelong Learning, Patty Gay and her team have been hard at work to create a daycare center for Franklin teachers, utilizing some of the space that's over there. They're looking at this to roll out as a net neutral, just like a lot of Lifelong Learning where it's self-sustaining, so not looking at it from a hit from a financial aspect. But from a recruitment and retention tool for Franklin teachers, it's phenomenal. Oh my God, it's amazing. Anybody who's had to kind of deal with daycare most recently, the costs are out there, but just knowing that you're dropping your kiddo off just right down the street from where you work, and the district that is following your schedule. So right now, a lot of times, you have kids in daycare, you have to pay over, April break, over summer, just to hold a spot. And this daycare center it's Franklin Public Schools, so it's going to be following the Franklin Public School calendar. So just from that human capital aspect, it's going to pay dividends. And the amazing news is they're looking to launch this coming fall. So they're going to have a bigger update come May and June, but such an exciting opportunity that's still kind of coming from this reorganization that we went through. So thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you, Ted. Great news there. Anybody else in the audience before I go to? I think my buddy Mark Minichelli has a comment.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. There we go. Mark, you should be all set.
Hello, Mark.
Mark?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, great. Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive. Good evening, councilors. Tonight I'm out of town, but I have a serious concern to share with you. 3 days ago, I was made aware of an email that was sent out to a neighborhood-wide distribution by Councilor Grella. The email briefly explains his intention to sue the Franklin ZBA over its recent approval of the 444 East Central Street project. And Mr. Grella also asks for people to contribute to an account to fund the attorney being used for the lawsuit. In the email, Mr. Grella explains he needs to raise $25,000 by Friday, January 16th, and that, quote, the appeal will be suing the ZBA, but not for any money. The attorney is just suing to have the decision overturned, unquote. I understand that Councilor Grella has the right to sue the ZBA as a private citizen, but that does not make it right. This action may or may not violate ethics rules. I'm not a lawyer, but it seems to violate the spirit of ethics rules. This lawsuit will likely cost our town tens of thousands of dollars to defend. In addition, it will be a huge distraction on multiple fronts for several town officials and departments. It will also likely trigger a countersuit by the developer, adding more cost and distraction to town officials. A sitting member of the town council, in my opinion, should not be challenging the validity and authority of another town board or committee through the use of a lawsuit. The ZBA's decision should be respected by town council members, just as town council expects its decisions to be respected by other town officials. Taking this action continues to drive a wedge deeper within our community rather than bringing us together and healing our division, something we dearly need right now. Councilor Grella should have voluntarily disclosed this action to the public at a town council meeting before tonight. It would have been the right thing to do. What if the lawsuit is successful? The prior ZBA decision is nullified. Then would the new ZBA need to re-examine, deliberate, and vote again on the proposed project? If so, anyone involved with the proposed lawsuit or abutting the project would seem to have a vested interest in approving new ZBA members, raising conflict of interest and ethics questions. Anyone involved in this lawsuit should not be deliberating or voting on the newly proposed additions to the ZBA, in my opinion, as they are tainted by a potential conflict of interest regarding future ZBA decisions. This is yet another reason why I think moving forward with this lawsuit is a bad idea. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Mark. Is there anybody else out there? We're gonna move on. Move on from citizens' comment. That's actually pretty fast. So, next item on the agenda is approval for minutes, January 7th, 2026. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Additions, deletions. All in favor? Aye.
Do a roll call because
No, he shows up, he was on Zoom then. That's when you get mad at him.
He's not.
But he's not on Zoom, no. So, opposed? Opposed, motion passed. We have one proclamation tonight, Scotty Smith, Smith's retirement. We have a proclamation. Smitty, get up here. So, Smitty, this is a proclamation from the town of Franklin on your retirement from the Franklin DPW. Whereas Scott Smitty Smith joined the Franklin Department of Public Works on April 19, 1993, after working at both Bellingham and Medfield DPW, but unfortunately was injured on July 20, 2024, and since then was unable to return back to work. And whereas, therefore, after 32 years of dedicated service, he retired on December 31st, 2025. And whereas, throughout his 32 years of service, Smitty served as a heavy equipment operator, L3. You gotta know what that is, but it's part of your license. So, assigned mostly to the sewer department, where he was not afraid to get dirty and was a reliable and invaluable member of the Franklin Department of Public Works. And Whereas during his tenure, he loved to operate all machinery, but definitely took pride in running the sewer vac machine. If you guys don't know what that is, I know what it is. It's really not a good place to be. It's not a good thing to operate, and it's definitely not a good thing to work on. So I don't have to work on them anymore, thank God. And so when official sewer vac operation position was created in December 2022, he was the obvious choice to fill it. And whereas when he wasn't operating the vac truck, clearing sewer blockages, or performing proactive cleaning of the sewer mains, he could be found testing his welding skills by fabricating parts on needed items over the 23 years in the lift towers. That's a good job, pal. It's good. I wish I had more people like you. And whereas Smitty was a dedicated and valued member of the Franklin Department of Public Works, whose commitment and contribution to the department and the community are greatly appreciated, and he is wished many happy years of retirement. Now therefore be it known that Scotty Smitty Smith is hereby commended and recognized by the Town Council of the Town of Franklin for over 32 years of dedicated service with the Franklin Department of Public Works, and congratulations on your retirement. It's signed by myself, Chairman of the Franklin Town Council. Smitty, enjoy your retirement, brother.
Yeah, you want to take a recess?
Yeah, a recess for a couple minutes. We'll take a picture with Smitty.
Smitty.
Come on up here.
Front and center, Smitty.
You guys, you want me to take a photo? Yeah. Come on, you got a camera? Yeah, no, I can. Let's get that camera. Ready? Scotty's smiling.
Come on, Smitty. Come on, Smitty.
Get a little closer together.
You guys gotta pretend you like each other. A little bit closer. There you go. They love this guy. All right, first camera. Ready? 3.
Ready? Yep.
3,
Smile.
2,
1,
1.
2, go.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Am I up or are you up?
You go ahead.
Okay.
I'm
Over
gonna
here?
take candidates.
All right, great. Thank you.
Tom and Steve, you can join.
CBD.
25 years we worked together. My partner.
You got a good smile on your face.
Almost 5 years. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good seeing you.
So let's see.
Good luck. Nice seeing you. Nice seeing you. Yeah, nice seeing
Oh, yeah. 25 years. We got each other.
All right, you ready?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks. Thanks, Scotty.
Thanks, Scotty, brother.
My friend John.
Thank you. All right, back to business here. So we have, tonight we have appointments. We have 2 appointments. Zoning Board of Appeals. Isabella Carter will do first. Is she here?
Yep, Isabella's here.
Want to sit down and
Okay.
Well,
You want me here with him?
Just in the seat, Isabella.
wherever you want.
Get comfy.
Yeah.
Get comfortable. All right, Jamie, why don't you kick it off?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the council, I won't read through the entire memo. I think I already gave my my opinion on a variety of matters there, but just for the folks that are watching from home or maybe didn't have a chance to take a look at the memo, tonight I'm asking for the council to ratify my nomination appointments of Jennifer Williams and Isabella Carter as at-large members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. First on the agenda is Isabella Carter. We've included in their application as well as her resume. But just as background, as many people as we're getting kicked off at the new year may be unaware, Archie Acevedo, who's a member of the ZBA, actually resigned on January 7th. So the appointment this evening for Isabella is actually, the vote tonight is to finish Archie's term, which ends on June 30th of 2026. In meeting Isabella and talking to her, it's my full intention, just to be clear, that I will nominate Isabella again in June to then have a full 3-year term, basically succeeding Archie's 20-some-odd years, 22 years respectively on the ZBA. Also, as I brought to the public's attention back in August and September, when several folks have asked, Mr. Hunchard's term actually expired last June. But as many of you on the council know, and I know people that were interested in 444 may have known, it jeopardized the hearing, in my view, of trying to make a change with the chairman of the ZBA in the middle of that hearing. For the record, which I'm sure will come up later, one of the associates, an associate member of the ZBA could have filled in if Mr. Hunchard had either resigned or if he was unavailable. However, due to the 2 associates were actually, one recused themselves, Mr. Halligan, because he's a property abutter, and also Megan Whitmore had missed more than one of the legally required meetings that you have to for a hearing. So she essentially disqualified herself from participating. I think I mentioned that in some of the memo I talked about at the time, but neither one of those associates were then eligible to be a voting member of the ZBA in the middle of that process. So I wrote an extensive memo, I've incorporated it in this packet, but with the case at 444 being over and past the appeal period, past the filing deadline that was required under state law, we do have a bit of a time right now where we can revisit Mr. Hunchard's appointment. And I have nominated Jennifer Williams, who's up here and we'll consider later on, to fill the rest of that term technically, because we're already 7 months into that term. So that term will go through, if ratified, June 30th of 2028. You know, obviously we've spoken as a community many, many times before about how challenging it is to get members of the community to volunteer for the ZBA. As many people know, Ms. Williams did apply last July at some point. I was very transparent about that. There were no other applications that were in the queue until I received the one from Isabella Carter a little later that fall, and I commend her and her bravery and her expertise for stepping up for this community, for a board where it seemingly seems that really nobody seems to want to check off that box, which is heartbreaking and disappointing. And because it actually is a really, really great board to be a part of. It's extremely, I mean, for people like us that are land use geeks, it's great board to serve on. It's a great board to be a part of. Councilor DeLorco is famous for saying many times, you know, we're here to help Franklin people. And the ZBA actually helps Franklin people exponentially more than what I think gets publicized a lot of times on social media. With that being said, very quickly, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Bruce and Archie for their incredibly long service to this community. I'm certainly well aware of the critique out there of any member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, from past members to Mr. Hunchard to anybody else, and the critique of their decision. And that's certainly fair for people to be either happy or displeased with the decisions they make. That being said, Mr. Hunchard and Archie served for 56 years combined on that board. That is a long time, including Bruce, for 34 years of his own time, no pay, no money. And what oftentimes goes unheard are a lot of the day-to-day zoning board meetings where no one usually shows up. It's usually just small variances or pool setbacks or a shed or something like that that help Franklin families essentially achieve their dream of what they're doing with their property. And 99% of the decisions they make are actually things to help residential homeowners either move to Franklin or sell their home or build their home. All of that, by the way, does get baked into our property values and does get baked into tax levy and new growth. And so I want to thank Bruce and Archie for their incredible service to the town for the last 3 or 4 decades. So before you tonight, first, Mr. Chairman, is the nomination of Ms. Carter, who's before you. And thank you very much for allowing me to do the opening remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jamie. Well, before we go to the council, do you have anything to say to the
Sure.
Resume is very good.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, so I find myself wanting to contribute to the community in some way. For the past 5 or so years, I was volunteering with the Franklin Youth Soccer as a coach, and I've stepped back from that, and so I wanted to do something where I can actually use some of my background, my experience. And I had seen that the zoning board had the opening, and it seemed like they were almost desperate for volunteers. So I figured, why not throw my hat in the ring? So I have, you all have my resume, but I have over 20 years of experience working as an engineer, structural engineer in the building and construction industry. I have worked and continue to work closely with architects and other consulting engineers and developers, owners, construction professionals, and I think I can bring some technical knowledge to this position.
Thank you. I'll go to the council. Do you have any questions?
Sure, for you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Isabella. Thanks for stepping up to do this. Are you sure? Yeah, I mean, I think your background and your experience and everything is probably a good fit. I guess more broadly, not specific to you, but as the ZBA is turning over after so many years with new members, it's not for tonight, but further down the road, I really do think we as a council need to explore getting more members to the ZBA. I think the weight of those decisions, the impact of those is really important, and I think just the way it's structured now, I believe we'd all benefit by having a few more voices on there. So that's a separate issue for another time. I guess my only question kind of related to zoning and all of, I'm sure you followed all of the excitement over the last year or 2 or 3 with some of the larger projects that have gone in. In particular with respect to 40B, you just passed a resolution in the last meeting in terms of larger apartment complexes and this council's desire not to promote those. I don't think we'll be initiating a lift anytime soon from this group. But if there were another hostile 40B that came up on another particular property, are you, and I don't want to put you on the spot in terms of how you would decide, but just generally get your thoughts on safe harbor, when that would be used, and what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, I can't really answer specifically, obviously. I'd have to see all of the factors. What's being proposed, what types of variances are being requested, how many variances are being, or waivers, I should say, how many waivers are being requested, and understand if we think it's feasible to invoke safe harbor, if it makes sense. But I would have to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
If safe harbor, meaning that we can use safe harbor to refuse a project if we're over 10%,
Right.
like subsidies has an index, which I think we're at 11% now, maybe that grows as other projects come on. I don't think it's too forward for me to think that a pretty good number of folks in town would favor using safe harbor, and again, not to put you on the spot necessarily, but hopefully you know and recognize that that's a big sense across.
Yes, I'm aware.
Thank you.
Just to, to follow up on something Councilor Malloy touched on, I think your resume is fantastic. I think you absolutely an asset to the ZBA. I commend you for volunteering your time and taking part of it. More broadly, on the topic of the ZBA for this committee, I know there's been some discussion about the number of people on that committee. 3 is tough. And just want you to be aware. 3 is tough because you can't meet as a it's a quorum once you have 2 people because it violates open meeting laws, which means it's going to be difficult. I just want you to be aware of this. It's going to be difficult to have conversations, discussions about the topics that you're covering with the other members of the committee. So until such time as we're able to expand the ZBA, which frankly would take a change in the charter, which is a much broader process, you have to recognize that that's a limitation that you're working on. I don't know if it's possible for us to use the non-voting members as a sounding board, or maybe there's some other way, perhaps something we can discuss some other time. But just wanted to make sure that that's something you are aware of. As I said before, I think you'd be an excellent addition. Just want you to go in with your eyes wide open.
Absolutely.
So first of all, thank you so much for throwing me in the hat. As you said, there were many calls for applications for this, and in October we had none, and other than Ms. Williams, who was still on the board or was just moving off of the board. And thank you also for your long history of volunteerism in this town. I know my kids have benefited from your soccer coaching skills. And your resume is incredible. I think it is a really good fit for the CBA. I just wanted to know if you wanted to elaborate on kind of your experience of working within and understanding design constraints and things like that might come up as as a part of the role on the CBA.
Yeah, so I primarily work with building construction, and so frequently new buildings or existing buildings have limitations, whether it's a property line limitation or there might be a flood elevation to work around, or maybe the owners have some needs where they need, I'm going to throw out some examples about specific buildings. They need a certain clearance for their ceilings, but then the zoning regulations don't allow the building to be taller than X number of feet. And so we have to work within those limitations and try to find a balance, try to find the best solution that works for everybody. I always work with a team. It's never just me, I'm a consultant. And so I work with, again, other design professionals, other consultants, and we look at who needs to snake some mechanical equipment through that structure. Another project I'm currently working on, there's a fire road that snakes around the building, and so we have to make sure that the building overhang doesn't impede on that space so that trucks can get through there. And so we're always just discussing things openly, communicating, and trying to find the best balance amongst all of the parties, all of the stakeholders.
Thank you. I think, in the first line of your resume saying successfully managed, completed several new construction and renovation projects from inception through completion. An example you just gave speaks incredibly well to your fitness on this role. And I know that as a council, our job tonight is to ratify or not ratify based on the fitness and merit of the applicants. And I think you would be an incredible asset to the team. So I just want to thank you again for volunteering.
Thank you.
Since we're going down the line,
Just go right down.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you as well.
You're welcome.
So nice to see you. For anybody that doesn't know, Isabella and I are neighbors, so I might be a little bit biased as to how great she is. But,
Or not.
no, she's one of the good ones. She's one of the good ones. Her and her husband and kids are wonderful. She's wonderful. And your resume is impressive. And I think more of a comment than a question to you, but that there's going to have to be some thick skin here with this job, right? Because you're coming in at a contentious time, you're filling in for people that have been there a really long time, so you got to kind of make your own spot, but you're going to have to weigh what you know is right and legal and by the book versus what maybe the community wants and advocates for, and that's balancing. It's going to be, I think that's probably the toughest thing you and anyone on the ZBA has going forward, is how can you communicate to the residents your intentions and still have them feel heard.
Right.
And maybe there's some compromise sometimes. I think many of our committees in the past have just kind of said, well, I know this to be right and we're just going to do it, and the community kind of feels sometimes left out, and particularly on the big projects that require a huge number of variances sometimes. Right? So,
Yeah.
I wish you all the luck in the world. I know you have the spirit and the patience to be able to do this, and I wish you all the luck, and thank you very much for stepping up to do this tough role. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for stepping up to the plate. It means a lot to have. It's more thankless than the town council in some ways, unfortunately. I had a question for Jamie, and then I had a question for you as well. Mr. Helen, out of the applicant pool, do you believe that the candidates before us tonight are the most qualified? And if so, why do you think they're the most qualified?
That's a great question. I do think they're the most qualified. I think both candidates tonight are extremely qualified. One, I do value the fact that during a tumultuous time, these two folks said, we're going to step up to the plate. If somebody steps up 6 months from now, it's wonderful. Like, I'm not, saying that that's any more worse, but I think with everything that was going on in town in that year, both of the folks that are up tonight said, we'll put our hat in the ring, and we're happy to do this. I think the Councilor Cormier Ledger's point, the thick skin element, I think both Ms. Carter and Ms. Williams absolutely have thick skin. They're very bright, they're very intelligent. They both have technical experience in this area, right? Obviously by the resumes, but frequently I say I don't really believe in resumes. I think if people want to volunteer their community, they should have an opportunity to do that. In this case, it's probably one of the couple boards, maybe the only board, that the wrong person getting on the board can really hurt themselves, right? There's a lot of legal issues that go around with this stuff, and so having people that have knowledge, have technical experience, can read plans, like Isabella can, and discuss issues with architects, interior designers, construction supervisors, and be able to talk that language during the board meetings when it gets into incredible detail. Most people found the deliberations at 4:44 after the hearing were closed like paint drying, right? Many people said they were boring, they were 9 hours long, I couldn't get through them, because that's the Zoning Board of Appeals. You have to want to learn that stuff, know that stuff, and work with that stuff. Also, they're both people who are thoughtful, they're both people who are committed to listening, having meetings in person. I think the issues that we've heard about the ZBA are really about restoring trust and respect. And I think both of these candidates will go a long way in achieving that. So I think they are the most qualified folks that are on the ballot, and obviously that's why I nominated.
Thank you. And I guess, you know, to your point about the legal issues and sort of building trust, one of the questions or comments that I've received via email is regarding recusal. And in terms of, you were appointed to the ZBA, is there any instances where you would have to expect to recuse yourself? And walk me through how you would identify when recusal is necessary.
Sure. So I work in consulting, and the firm that I'm currently working for does have some residential projects in-house. If any of those projects, or any other projects that aren't residential, but if they happen to be located in Franklin and they needed to go through the ZBA, I would definitely recuse myself.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. First, thank you for stepping up. It's so nice to see new faces. Your resume literally is very impressive, and it really did blow me away. I have really one actual question. On the form in your narrative section, you said you have about 4 hours per week available. Now, typically, if it's just regular everyday stuff, that's going to be fine, but when you have something that's massive going on, it could demand a lot more than 4 hours a week. Are you going to be able to do that? The goal is not to have Zoom meetings on a regular, but in person.
Right. Yeah. No, I would be able to make the time for that. Like I said, I stepped back from my other volunteer experience, so I have 2 young kids, but when these things come up, I can make the commitment.
Thank you. That was it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for stepping up and taking the time to meet with us, and also to volunteer your time. We really appreciate that. As everyone has said, your resume is excellent. Really appreciate having new people come on board, people who are smart, who look through the law, who deliberate, and so your qualifications are excellent. I agree with what other town councilors said about the increasing the size of the ZBA. I think that's necessary, mostly just so that there can be meetings, one-on-ones outside, especially if you're training a new ZBA member. No, I think that I really don't have much more to say than that. That's really, thanks again for stepping up for this.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, Jane kind of took my question. I was just wondering about the commitment, you know, because it can be a big commitment. So I know I was coaching when I got on, and I ended up leaving after a couple of years. But no, your resume is outstanding, and I think it'd be a great addition to the ZBA. So, well, any further, I think I would. The community can talk. Go ahead.
Hello everybody, my name is Joe Halligan, 1 Green Drive, presently on the ZBA as an associate. This came across me really quick last minute here, and I wanted to speak before both candidates were voted in, so no one feels like I'm trying to steal someone else's position. We all seem to have the same experience. I was on the board, planning board for 14 years. I was on the master plan committee for almost 2 years in zoning. And I also am on the ZBA as an alternate now for about 1 year and 8 months. I feel, and this is my opinion, that being that long and that much experience in the town, I could have possibly had the opportunity to step up a little bit. Similar to Mr. Delaco, Mr. Cormier, you're down here, you slid up, you put your time in, and you get that position. I don't want to say it was hurtful, but again, it snuck up on me real quickly. I have that experience. I have the boots on the ground. I've gone through every permitting process the town of Franklin has ever had. So I understand it thoroughly. I can say, other than the new members that are on the council, I would bet a dinner to anybody In 20 years of service to the town of Franklin, I have never missed a meeting in almost 20 years of service to the town. I am dedicated, I'm available 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. My place of business is a quarter mile up the street. I'm approachable, I can be here to sign documents. I just felt as though putting that much time in, I could get a little bit of respect to possibly move into a full-time position. The reason why I want to talk right now is because I don't want them to think I'm trying to steal one of theirs. There's plenty of opportunity. I would beg the council to possibly take this under advisement tonight. We do have myself and another alternate in place, and Janelle, who's the full-time member, who can carry on one more meeting tomorrow night. If the board would possibly consider extending this, because according to Jamie earlier tonight, you can't vote me in as a full-time member tonight anyway, and I understand that. But I have done my time. I've done everything for the community. I look at it as the glass is half full. People come in, I want to fill that glass for them. I'm always for the community. I was never really involved in anything that affected the town. I have no lawsuits against me, no litigation against me. I have no family members on other boards in the town that could be a conflict. It sounds like we're all in the same business. Architect, building, they have things going on in town. Yes, that's going to come up, so do I. We're all in the same boat. I just feel as though I'm not saying I'm a better candidate, but at least there's 2 positions open. Maybe I could grab that one. It would be great to have another person put on. I don't know how to explain it any better than I've done my best to work up the line. I love my community. I'm 67 years old. I'm ready to retire. It'd be nice to see a senior on one of these boards. It seems like they're not getting on any boards lately. I really respect the fact of new blood on the ZBA is great, but it'd be nice to have maybe an old school Franklin guy on that board, so that there's some conversation. It doesn't all go the new way, it doesn't go the old way. And as one of the councilors said, it's a 3-man board. If Joe Halligan wanted to pass something, it doesn't pass without 2 other members. There's no one individual on that board that could sway a vote. You have to have all 3, just like it says. And I would love to be part of this, the ZBA. I don't know what more to tell you. I know there's a lot of rumors going on around there. Joe's this, Joe's that. And I'd like 1 second to bring something up. And this is not in my nature, but I'm starting to learn why behind closed doors those words and those things might be said about me that could possibly sway a vote on boards or possibly even tonight. So there's a forum, Hot Topics in Franklin. And again, I never mention anybody by names. I'm not a backstabber. I don't put anybody down. But when you put your dog in a corner, he's going to bark. And this really irritated me that came across yesterday on Hot Topics. There is a woman, Diana Bardsley, who is concerned about me being on the board because I'm a property owner, and wanted to know if there was a conflict. And this is what really disturbs me. We have an individual who was a 20-year person on the conservation, supposedly a well-respected Franklin guy, respected around the community, made great decisions, and people respected him on the conservation, and his name is Jeff Livingstone. Again, I never mention names. Quote, Diana Bardsley, yes, it's a massive conflict. This post is clearly written by a psychopath. It's why Joe Halligan wasn't voted in 2 elections ago. This is the same guy who tried to put a Hooters in the downtown Franklin. Also doing backdoor handy deals. I wouldn't blame you for not putting me on a board, ever again. Social media, I understand what Jamie goes through now. I didn't realize how bad this can get. This can be damaging to people's careers. I could survive this, but this isn't correct. And again, I really appreciate the thought, if it could be extended, maybe to another meeting, and possibly consider me as a candidate on the board where I'm already an alternate. And if there's any questions, I'd be willing to take them from the board.
Thanks, Joe. Is there anybody else? Yep. Joe, just state your name for that.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Joe Evans, 510 Shannon Road in Franklin. Thank you for the opportunity to speak a little bit on this. I've been following land use issues with the council, and ZBA and the planning board for a number of years. And I just have a few questions as to how this played out. As Joe Halligan mentioned, there are two alternates, Joe being one of them and Megan Whitmore being the other one. I'm trying to get some clarity, and maybe Jamie, through you, Mr. Chairman, Jamie could answer how this process played out, that Joe and Megan weren't sort of offered the opportunity at least to be appointed, and whether or not, I'm a little confused as to how that worked. If you could explain that, Jamie.
I'd love to clarify it, Joe. So, you know, this has been a long couple of years. I already explained a little bit before. I think in the case of Megan, when Janelle was elevated last year, I did talk to her and about why she didn't get elevated from an associate at the time. Megan's been on the board for almost a decade. And I simply said to Megan, and I'm being very transparent, her and I are very good friends, we had a very good conversation, very cordial. And I just said, Megan, you know, I need you to participate a little bit more, I need you to be more vocal. She's had some attendance issues in the past. There was at one point for a while, maybe she was confused about her obligation, like if she wasn't needed as an associate, she wouldn't show up. But nonetheless, she did have some attendance issues for some years. We did talk about it last year. I told her I would always consider elevating her to an at-large member if that improved. She obliged, she understood, and then came this year with the 444 project. And number one, she missed, I think, 3 of the first 4 or 4 of the first 5 or so meetings from March, April, May. She did attend one, but immediately disqualified herself after she missed the second meeting. That's disappointing to me. I do want to make sure everybody's aware. I did talk to Megan last week. We had a great conversation. I do understand the reason why she was not there were for personal reasons that are completely legitimate, and any one of us would have had to have maybe missed meetings. That's fair. But I just encourage her, if those personal reasons come up again, please call me, call the building commissioner, talk to the chairman, because on such a consequential project like this, especially as it evolved, you know, we could have really used that voice and that vote. And I already explained, you know, and I did say to her, one thing I do want to clarify for some of the board members and just for the public, you know, Chair Hunchard, and I expect this to be the case with any of the new ZBA members, has always been inclusive of all of the voices on the ZBA. So while there are 3 voting members, there are 5. Mr. Halligan and Ms. Whitmore have always, and even the previous associates before that, Mr. Hunchard has always asked them if they have any questions, any comments during any ZBA meeting. But on such a consequential project, they thought that was disappointing and wanted to just at least make sure that there was a new member that had the time commitment that could make sure that they were there. And regarding Mr. Halligan, point blank, he should be heard. He should be. Joe knows how I feel about him, and I know how Joe feels about me. But the reality is he did have to recuse himself from 444, as I just mentioned a minute ago. Number 2, he does have potentially a lot of additional recusals through the community. And finally, the public sentiment in the last year and a half is saying we want fresh faces, we want some new perspective, we want some additional members that haven't maybe been around for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. That's not a disrespect to any candidate that applies to the ZBA that has been there. Mr. Halligan knows, like last year or the year before, I nominated him at a pretty unpopular time to be an associate member when there was a vacancy. He applied, he knows how I feel about him. I have the utmost respect for Joe. He's one of the most knowledgeable people in this community of our zoning code, our bylaws, our building and construction, just like everybody else. But in my opinion, now, as the nominating authority, now is not the right time, and this is not what the community is seeking. I understand a few people may be seeking that, and that's okay. That's completely okay to have different opinions on this issue. But people say a lot of times we don't listen, or the council doesn't listen, or the staff doesn't listen, or I don't listen. I reject that wholeheartedly. I listen a lot. You know that, Joe. Both of you Joes know that. I call everybody back, email everybody back myself. I meet with people, talk to people. I get views from seniors, veterans, young, kids, parents, people who just moved here last year, people who have lived here their whole lives. Every single demographic in this town at some point or another comes to me with their opinions. And it's in my judgment right now that given the quote-unquote trust issues with the Zoning Board of Appeals, for whatever that is defined, and I'm not even so sure I fully agree with it myself, but I want to show the public, show the folks that were upset, that I'm listening to them and saying we need to restore some level of credibility and trust in the Zoning Board of Appeals to try to have respect, proper demeanor, and try to have thoughtful people who are fair, who are making decisions, and also people who will try to educate the public on the facts. You know, like the cell phone tower up on the VFW, or a myriad of projects. We need candidates like Isabella and Jen and Janelle last year, and also Joe as an associate. I think Joe and Megan can still be fully participating individuals who can be helpful to the board with their expertise. But the bottom line is I hope all of you on the council also see this too, because I know you've heard about it on the campaign trail all the time. There needs to be some sort of change in the Zoning Board of Appeals. And in my estimation, there's a supermajority, if not a large majority of this community, wants to see some new faces and some new perspectives on the zoning board. And that's why I nominated Isabella and Jen, and that's simply why I didn't think right now was the time to put Mr. Halligan forward, given the fact that he owns a lot of property in town, there will be recusals at some point, and given the past history of different projects in town, I just don't think that's the right time to begin restoring the trust for the zoning board of appeals. I hope that clarifies things, Joe.
Noted, thank you, Jamie. I also have some questions, Mr. Chairman, specifically not from Ms. Carter, but from Ms. Williams. And I don't know, I think it would probably be fair to have...
I think right now the vote, the decision is on Ms. Carter first.
We're not doing, yeah, we're not. Okay, you can come up again, Joe. Glenn?
Thank you. Glenn Jones, 172 School Street. I think both as a former counselor and the chairman, the former chairman of the master plan, I can attest to Joe's knowledge, specifically when it comes to land use and zoning. He was on the 6-member board that helped craft the master plan. He spent countless years on the land board. And he has had, so much institutional knowledge that could be helpful to the zoning board of appeals. And I do have to agree with Joe and Joe. And typically what we would do as a sitting council is agree that if we have individuals who have worked their way up through the ranks over the years, it's always best to promote from within. It's just, it's only common sense, because in order to keep morale, in order to keep the institutional knowledge and workings, that there could be a long-term detrimental effect to having new people fill in some very important roles. And I'm not understating anything that Mrs. Carter has with her abilities. I'm sure she's a very bright woman, and she could do a very, very good job, just as Ms. Williams could as well. Ms. Williams, who also served on the master plan, just a little bit of history, also on land use and zoning, made huge contributions, in part also with the master plan. So you've got some really tough decisions to make in front of you. It's just, we have to really stop and think about here is who's the best choice to fill these roles. I can attest for Joe's long time history, helping out the community. He contributes in many ways, as does Jen. I'm not too familiar with Isabel. I'm sure she does great, with soccer. I coached soccer when my kids were little. It's kind of part of how I got involved into volunteering. But I don't necessarily agree with Jamie when it comes to this. It's just my 2 cents. I think that's not to steal Steve's comments about 2 cents, but you have a tough choice to make on this one.
Thank you, Glenn. Anybody else? Anybody in Zoom land?
No.
Somebody in Zoom land? All right.
We didn't have Councilor Blank.
Huh?
Councilor Blank, he didn't join.
No, he didn't dial in.
No, he didn't. I don't
I don't see him.
He was on the text me, he did, but I haven't seen him. So clerk will read the appointment.
So we're gonna read each appointment separately,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, correct? So this is for an appointment for the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Town Administrator has appointed the following individual to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals with term to become effective January 21st, 2026, and to expire as stated below. Isabella Carter of 407 Oakland Parkway in Franklin, term to expire June 30th, 2026. The motion is to ratify the appointment by the Town Administrator of this individual named above to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term to become effective January 21st, 2026, and to expire as stated above.
You've heard the appointment. Do I have a motion? And a second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Welcome. Okay, Jennifer Williams, you're up.
Good evening, councilors.
Jamie, do you want to lead in?
Sure. No, I think I've said enough. I think my point is very clear. I think that, I think the only other thing I would add is, Williams obviously served on the planning board for a full term. Like Mr. Halligan was on the master plan committee, like Ms. Lang was on the master plan committee. And I'll let her speak for herself, but other than that, I don't have much else to add. Certainly available to answer questions.
All right, so same thing. I'll go to you.
Okay. I wanted to be on the planning board 6 years ago, I think-ish, because I care deeply for this town, the future of this town. Brought my family here to raise them here, and felt I had a skill set to offer. I'm a licensed architect. I am a principal at one of the largest architecture firms in the world, but never would have a project here in Franklin where I'd have to, my firm doesn't work here, right? I work in the city, we do work all over the country, but not here in Franklin. And I felt that I was deeply invested in where this town was going and had technical expertise and ability to offer, certainly on the planning board, and that also certainly translates to the zoning board. There are a lot of technicalities, legalities, understanding of process and permitting and regulatory agencies and technical terminology and how to read plans and sections and understanding bylaws and waivers and everything that everyone has talked about tonight that I felt like I could have a positive impact on the future of the town of Franklin by volunteering my time this way. I started as an associate member on planning board because there was an opening, and I was overwhelmingly voted in for a full term in 2021. In a very almost similar circumstance, I think. The town was looking for, I think, some new, fresh perspective, and was a new member, replacing others that had been on for quite a long time. And during my tenure as a planning board member, I can't probably count on one hand and number of meetings that I missed. I was super engaged, a really strong participant, active participant. As people have said, I volunteered as the elected member, or represented on the master plan committee, was on the land use and zoning subcommittee to further be able to contribute thought and collaborate, which I think is super important with other folks in the town, on council members and the ZBA and you name it, in order to work together to understand each other. And ultimately, this is all because I felt it was really important to represent what the residents were looking for with the in a way that you care deeply, but you listen to them, and you have to weigh all the pros and cons, but you are always trying to make the best decision that you have with the information that you have in your hand at that moment, given to you by, you know, it could be months at a time, it can be hours in a night, right? But it's really important to go through the whole process and understand the process and be there as an active member and do the best you can to represent the town, in that case an elected position. I loved it. I coach field hockey on my daughter on Monday nights, and I also have a monthly leadership meeting at my firm once a month on Monday nights. And so Monday nights just weren't going to work for me moving forward, and I knew my term was expiring in November. And so I also knew there were going to be vacancies in the zoning board, which is a different night of the week. And so I applied for the zoning board. I actually think it might have been before June. I think it was in the spring. Because I really wanted to continue to contribute to the town and have a positive impact and represent the residents of Franklin and do my best in every individual case and scenario to make a decision, an informed decision, like I said, with the information that we have across the board, from applicants, from professionals, from peer reviews, from town officials, because every circumstance, every case, whether big or small, is important to individuals or entire communities, and I always felt it's a really important, serious job that matters to impact, like I said, the future of the town. So I would be honored to continue to serve the town in the role of the ZBA on a night of the week that I know I can 100% be there and engaged and be an active member of the community, because I like to give back and offer, you know, what I can in my expertise wherever I think it might be beneficial to the residents.
You good?
Good.
All right, we'll do the same. Councilor Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Jennifer, for stepping forward. The same question, you know what you're up against, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is
Oh, I know.
Similar question to what I mentioned to Isabella before, just in terms of, I'm sure you've been following all of the goings on over the last year or two, and with respect to safe harbor and first of all, knowing what that is, and just your thoughts on being open to use that since we're over the 10%.
Sure,
Success
yeah.
has been.
I mean, I do, no matter what, and anybody on any board, every case is an individual case, yes. I also understand there clearly is desire in this town to have smart strategic growth, and so, you know, there may be circumstances where certainly that's warranted. You know, I wouldn't know, or the board wouldn't know until the circumstances are presented in front of them, but I am aware that that is a possibility moving forward.
And you'd entertain considering that, just considering the totality of what was going on in the project and all the other variables, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to consider in every circumstance.
Well, thank you, and thank you again for stepping forward and looking to help.
I don't want to take a lot of time. I've seen your resume. I think it's fantastic. You have a career
Okay. Well, so I'm going to say thank you again. I mean, your volunteerism in this town is incredible, and we are very grateful for everything that you have and continue to do for the town. I was going to ask about how your experience on the planning board relates to this, but I feel like you just answered that. So I think you did a really good job of, again, explaining your fitness and qualifications and merit, which is what we are voting on. My one question, I guess, would be, especially on the ZBA where it is such a small group of voting members, you know, how comfortable are you in voting or speaking up for what you believe to be the right answer, even if, you know, it is possibly not the popular or the not the way the rest of the group is flowing. So I'm just curious how you feel about that, because that is, you know, so critical, especially for such a small group.
Great question, and I think maybe similar to most ZBA meetings where nobody shows up, I have a proven track record on the planning board of often being the one person or one or two people who deviate from maybe the popular opinion, because I approach every thing that's in front of us with impartiality, if I said that correctly. I'm here again to make decisions with information I have in front of me in the best interest of the town, and hearing the residents at every meeting and doing as much as possible to make sure that their concerns are addressed, and ultimately voting, considering all these factors certainly without any outside influence, even from fellow board members necessarily. And I think my track record shows that. There were some pretty big projects that I voted down that others voted yes, and for some reason it moved forward for various other reasons, the state or not needing a super majority vote or you name it, but I held my ground and voted for or against something in any event. And so I hope that people understand that or have seen that in the past and realize that I will continue to perform that way on the ZBA.
I appreciate that, and integrity is critical. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Jen. It's great to see you, and certainly no stranger to the community. You and your husband and your family are out and about at everything, and that's, I think, a true testament to you and how much you love Franklin. We received a lot of emails today, starting at about 8 a.m. Probably 30 if I have to count, and 27 of them were in favor of you.
I was like, what are these emails?
Being support, just for the public record.
Yeah.
But, don't anybody quote me on the map. There was about 27 supporting you in this role. Some of the concerns raised, though, had to do with your husband and his role as a volunteer on another committee. So can you just speak to how you would handle that potential conflict if Sam was involved with something with signage that had to come before you? Because I think that will be some of the community concerns.
Sure. I think, yeah, my husband's on the Design Review Commission. He's also an architect. The Design Review Commission is a recommending board, not a voting board. So there wouldn't be an instance where there's like a vote influencing a vote. I think if, I guess I would need clarification, but I don't know if I'd have to recuse myself in that
Jamie,
case.
Design Review Committee is a recommending body only. They have no permitting authority on anything. The only thing Design Review does is review signs, which is important. I don't want to say the only thing. But they review signs and they make recommendations to the planning board, and that's it. So unless there's a personal recusal from a project within a company they own or he owns or she's a part of, like a traditional recusal of all of you, it's really no different. I hope that clarifies it.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's just important to put out on the table to make sure that the people that reached out to us get that question answered.
Sure.
I know you as to be someone of, true integrity, that if there was a conflict, you would step up. I just wanted the public to be.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I mean, in my tenure in planning board, I didn't recuse myself from a single project, and I would expect that to be the case on CBA. But of course, if there's ever an instance that I had to, I would.
My last question would be, how, if this moves forward and you are one of three, can you talk to how you would involve Ms. Halligan, as another member of the group that maybe doesn't have a vote, but does have incredible expertise and a lot to say and clearly wants to give back and do more. I feel like maybe if you could sort of speak to how you would involve him more, that might be some of those tensions.
Yeah, I mean, Joe and I work together on the master plan committee. He has incredible knowledge as a developer in town. And like the planning board, the associate, and I think Jamie mentioned this, I mean, every single topic for discussion goes around the horn to everybody. It's not that the voting members talk and the associate members don't. And all of those commentary, all those considerations are considered equally and weighted equally. I don't see any hierarchy, if you will, to comment, consideration, and insight, right? I think the difference lies in the ultimate vote, but other than that, it's an equal partnership. I mean, that's, like I said, that's been my experience on the planning board. That's been my experience, working with Joe on the master plan committee, and would expect that to be the case with any associate member on any board.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Max?
Mr. Chairman, thank you again for stepping up. I think it's a lot to have, active members of the community participating in all boards and committees. Just a quick question. If residents oppose a project but the law requires approval, how do you engage with their concerns and explain your decision?
You try the best you possibly can. You try to address the resident concerns in any way you can by influencing the direction of the project as much as humanly possible to address those resident concerns, and try to over-explain, read verbiage, educate as much as possible along the way, right? Sometimes it's tough because people aren't attending every meeting or being there for a whole meeting or reading all the material that was submitted that's publicly available. And so reminders in a public meeting are important, but beyond that, again, it's that balancing act and doing your best to be a good listener and respond to resident concerns through action, and that doesn't necessarily always translate directly to a vote.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
You good, Matt?
Good.
Okay.
Hi, Joe. I've had to put a lot of thought in with this. This whole appointment thing has taken up the last few days of my days and my sleep. First, I was there when you won in 21, so I know I followed your process. I've seen you in action on the planning board. I have no problem with your resume. My issue is this, and this is where I'm finding a large conflict, and it's really not a personal conflict at all. Currently, right now, the planning board is being sued, okay? Not like specifically you, but like the planning board. I want to make sure that everyone understands that. We have spoken about the integrity of the town, the integrity of the ZBA and the committees and the council and everything like that. I find it really hard to appoint someone to a ZBA, which is ultimately a board basically that is their own entity. And when we have this open lawsuit, it hasn't been resolved. And the outcome of that lawsuit should be resolved before anybody involved in it is appointed, in my opinion, to the ZBA. Because I feel that it could hurt the integrity of the ZBA. It's not, again, it's nothing personal with you. I would be more than happy to entertain approving you for the ZBA when that was resolved and have you resubmit. But I find it very hard and deep in my gut, hard to put you on there when there's a potential lawsuit that's going through right now.
Can I
Yes,
respond?
yes,
Sorry.
sure. That's why I stopped.
So I'm not a member of the planning board anymore, so I'm no longer involved in that lawsuit. Also, it's not uncommon for there to be lawsuits against a board or a committee. It's part of, we have no control over what people appeal. I'm actually people can read the history of that whole situation, but that's an example of a project that I voted against, that I believe the residents in the town of Franklin was very much so broadly against, and I don't feel, I don't feel that the decision shouldn't have made because of a potential lawsuit against the planning board. I feel like the decision was made in the best interest of the residents in the town, and whether you're on the ZBA or the planning board or town council, it's a risk of being in the position, and the entity itself can be sued. I'm no longer a part of the planning board, and I'm therefore not part of that lawsuit any longer because I'm not on the board.
And I do, and I get what you're saying 100%. Like I said, it's not personal towards you at all, okay? And yes, we all stand that chance sitting where we're sitting. So I get that, and I also know the project because I was actually sitting in the audience. I listened to all the abutters, so I get it. So it's not like I didn't know what was going on. I won't personally say whether I agree or disagree because that's not the topic of conversation right now. But your name is on the lawsuit. Mm-hmm. I have a copy here. Mm-hmm. So for me, that is my issue. And it's not because of you. Put it this way, if anybody's name was on here that was coming for an appointment, I wouldn't feel comfortable appointing them.
Jamie?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So just a couple of tidbits, because I think Councilor Callaway-Tripp and Councilor Morangello are focusing on an issue right now that I think, just to take a little deviation away from the conversation, I think is really important to highlight. So one, I just want to point out, there is no criteria anywhere in our bylaws that say why somebody could vote against a ratification or not. So just in case folks are at home listening, these reasons are reasons that members have, and they're legitimate reasons that people may say they want to vote no on, okay? But broader, the ZBA is being sued right now. There's an appeal on just about almost any development project in Franklin. Okay? And there's probably going to be more. So I think what Councilor Morangello's question a moment ago is about as poignant as any question about development, and I think the people in the audience tonight, I think the people watching at home, and all of you need to think about this stuff. Do we have members that vote against projects because residents are angry? We heard about this with 444 East Central Street all the time. We hear about this with Gianetti's Blueberry Farm. We hear about this on Summer Street. We heard about this on the VFW Tower. So the Zoning Board of Appeals is being sued right now on the cell phone tower. So I can't, and I'm not going to engage with Councilor Callaway-Tripp to say whether her opinion is right or wrong. I'm not going there. If that's her feeling, completely legit. I just want to make sure there's nowhere in any bylaws anywhere that says that that can't be a reason. Just like any other member have another reason because of expertise or anything. There is nothing. But I just want to take a side note as this marker, because I do think that the ZBA in general and everything we've heard about the zoning board, the concerns about development, the concerns about the new growth in town, the less tax levies, I think this is kind of almost a really serendipitous moment, given the way that the comments came out from both Max and Jane. I think it's something for folks to hopefully think about. Where do we want to go as a community? What kind of members do we want here or there on boards and committees? And how do we relate to residents when we know the law permits a project like the cell phone tower at the VFW? It is federal law. But we have a room full of residents who feel like they're not heard, they're not trusted, we're not honest, they're upset at the decisions. I can't think of another moment in my tenure in 10 plus years right now where those conflict, where that confluence of those issues is more evident than what Max just pointed out and with what Jane just pointed out. So we have lawsuits everywhere. I prefer there weren't, because the allegations that are across town that we don't have the money to finance all these lawsuits is absolutely true. You'll probably be getting a year-end transfer at some point for legal expenses at the end of the fiscal year. But how do we relate to residents who are concerned about development and don't want anything built in their backyard? Because ultimately, I watch all of these meetings. And I know some of the other people over here in the stands watch every one of these meetings. And we're dealing with a serious issue right now where we have a very qualified candidate for a zoning board. We heard overwhelmingly that we want more trust, more better demeanor, more respect at zoning boards. Ms. Williams clearly will provide that. But because her name was on a lawsuit where she wasn't the only vote voting no, a majority of the planning board voted no on that project, because I can tell you, in my 10 plus years here, those hearings on Summer Street were far and away some of the most contentious hearings that I have seen in this town. And I would say King Street, I would say Summer Street, not once but twice, so Councilor DeLorco knows, maybe 3 times, Councilor DeLorco. This one goes way back. And then the cell phone tower on Pond Street, which will eventually come up probably again at some point in the next several months. I'm not trying to interfere in the board's decision about ratification. I just thought it was a serendipitous moment where Councilor Callaway Tripp was raising concerns that many people have. But Councilor Callaway Tripp has also been concerned about the membership of the ZBA, right? And about the respect that some of the other board members gave, or sometimes maybe the lack of knowledge in the way that they didn't educate the public on some of these issues. But also what Max's question was perfectly laid out. Perfectly laid out. And I'll end there and just hope that the community can reflect on this a little bit and understand a little bit to themselves. What is it that we're looking for? Are we just going to do what residents want because they're super angry? Even though we're going to be sued? Even though we're going to be in court, we're going to be out tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars of money that we don't have? Or are we going to try to help educate people at times who, quite frankly, don't always want to be educated with the facts? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your time.
Mark?
We have multiple litigation pending at the moment involving the various land use boards, the planning board, the zoning board, the conservation commission. In all the cases, the members are named in the representative capacity, not individual. Once somebody ceases to be on the planning board, as in this case, you could, as a formality, substitute a current member, but again, because it's only representative capacity, an attorney's time is valuable as well. Nobody keeps up to that and doesn't. If they were being sued individually based on an allegation of individual wrongdoing, that's a different story. But they're only being, she was named because at that time she was a member of the sitting planning board, and you could find the same thing with any of the current litigation, but as it goes on, the captions get stale. And at some point eventually, maybe at the end of the case, there would be a motion to simply substitute them as members. Sometimes they don't even name the individual members, they just simply sue the planning board, the Concom, the ZBA. But there are times when you're required, at least at the outset, to identify who the members are.
Okay, I got one question though. I mean, I know what you're saying, but she still will have to go to court if this goes to court.
No.
Why wouldn't she? She was on the planning board.
Because it actually
So
technically.
why doesn't everyone just
because
resign and we want to
in
go to
her
court?
particular case, that's an appeal from a special permit granting authority's decision. The legal process is such, the court holds a new hearing. He has new witnesses, does not hear from any of the members of the boards themselves. Their opinions, their subjective opinions, their mind processes are not even relevant. The judge, under a special permit granting authority appeal, as I said, has a new hearing, hears witnesses, makes his or her decision, and only then goes back and looks at the original board decision on its face and determines whether there's a legal basis. It's a very technical kind of.
It just didn't make any sense to me. I thought you would have to go. You know, but
No.
you know better than I do. I'm just saying, it doesn't make any sense.
Through Mr. Chairman, it's like any appeal or any suit on a liquor license, anything.
Yeah.
It's just, no one from the council on a liquor license appeal gets dragged to a hearing. It's a completely outside separate information. It's just in this case, For whatever reason, the formality, they named the entire planning board, and I believe they read the members who even voted for the project. So there was one member, I think, in that decision who voted yes for the project on Summer Street, and they were also named in the lawsuit. So it's really just a legal formality. It really has no practical application. That being said, you know, as my comments earlier stay true, you know, there is no defined criteria for ratification or not in any bylaw that we have, and so it's somewhat subjective to the entire council on ratification. Thank you.
Jane, you stood at the floor.
Okay, and I appreciate everything you guys just said, and I understand everything that you just said. I just have a hard time with it because my goal is to bring back the integrity to all the things that have been dismantled. And for me, I'm struggling with this one. And again, Jennifer, honestly, like, it really is not a personal thing against you at all. I have watched you at the planning board meetings. I've seen some of those contentious planning board meetings and sat there was like, oh, because I actually didn't go and I was watching from TV and I was like, oh my God. So I get it. And I've been at some where I even actually got a little mouthy. So I know that it happens. I'm just struggling right now because in my gut is telling me to maintain the integrity of the ZBA because of what the lawsuit is saying, because I read it, that in my gut, I need to see that ended before. Because what I don't want to see happen is something go forward and all of a sudden, well, weren't you part of or weren't you named of because of X, Y, and Z, and it comes back to bite us, and I have to go to sleep at night with the way that I vote. And so for right now, I'm just struggling with ratifying this appointment. And I'm sorry. That's all I have.
All right. Jennifer, thank you also, as others have said, for stepping in and stepping up, and also for your other contributions to the town master plan, planning board. So I have one question for you. See, you have served planning board, master plan, your husband's an architect, you're an architect, you obviously live in this town. My question for you is, we've done a lot of building over the last 10 years. In your opinion, just want to get you were kind of designing the town of Franklin. What have we gotten right? What have we gotten wrong? How do you see things as far as the way that this town should move forward as far as development?
That's a great question. I am excited for what the master plan itself and the land use and zoning committee, again, which is representatives from quite an extensive group of people, different perspectives, has sort of identified as opportunities for smart growth being the key term of where there may be strategic opportunity for development to positively impact the fabric of Franklin, the economic sort of robustness that could be downtown Franklin or their crossing, and areas of town where a little bit more density might be appropriate versus areas of town where it really is not appropriate at all whatsoever because of the fabric of the neighborhood or the traffic or the various other factors that may be specific to a site or that immediate sort of surrounding area of town. So without taking a map and like pinpointing every single area and what I think could be awesome for each of those areas, I think it's pretty well thought through in the actual vision for the comprehensive town that the ZBA and the planning board and the town council and all of these really important boards and committees have an obligation to uphold and work together to achieve that vision in that thoughtful way that at the end of the day is coming back to hitting those goals, hitting where has been outlined, it has been outlined for that smart growth. So I don't know if I'm sure you've read them, Pastor. Maybe not. It's very long, kind of boring.
I worked on the
But
first
Max
one.
was very involved. Yes, and had actually some awesome ideas himself.
I worked on the first one, and I did, I volunteered for the second one. I didn't
Yeah.
make it.
Oh, well, yeah, I think there's some real awesome areas where redevelopment or thoughtful, like, new life could be appropriate, and that doesn't necessarily mean massive. It doesn't mean, it needs to be right for the neighborhood. And I think that's the key to whatever happens moving forward, is being really responsive to that immediate context. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, well, I'll just a follow up. Do you have any opinion on anything you haven't liked about some of the development that we've done?
Oh yes, I have opinions.
Do you want to share it?
I don't know if I want to on public record. I think, again, I think if you look at my track record on the planning board, there are some clear developments that I thought were too dense or too large that I did not support and voted no on. I think there were others where density was more appropriate, or there are others where, it may have had to move forward anyway, but like we fought to change and respond to resident comments to make the project the best it possibly could be. I think there's some obvious, probably large masses that residents drive by that everyone knows, I don't have to say it, of like, this doesn't feel right here, right? And that's what is really important to consider and uphold moving forward, is to make sure that doesn't happen. So that's the most politically correct way to answer that.
Thank you. No further questions for me?
Okay, obviously your resume is as good as it, as it can be. I do agree with the rest of the councils. I would like to move forward to try to get this a 5-member board. I know it's a charter change. We might have to go to the residents, but we have to do that. I think that should be coming up. So, Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it. Just before, because I can sense, maybe other comment may come or, a vote. Just in full transparency, I just want to be clear about what happens with a vote tonight. So, if you take a vote and obviously ratify Ms. Williams, she becomes a member through 2028 or whatever it says in the memo. If the motion was tabled, if the point was defeated, or if it was a tie, I want to be very clear, just so everybody really knows. Mr. Hunchard's term then continued. So his term did not end. His term continued on. And until there's a replacement, he stayed. Tomorrow night there's a ZBA meeting with a public hearing that starts on an accessory dwelling unit. Similar to Stobart's, although I think the ADU would probably be much quicker. Once that hearing starts, you're probably going to want to have that hearing completed. But the town attorney can explain, for those that are new, about the continuation of terms, but that's the same situation that happened over the last 7 months. So I just want to be very clear, because I don't want everybody to wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden realize tomorrow Mr. Hunchard is presiding over the ZBA meeting, and he may go on for another couple months until we resolve this issue. Because I think the community, whether I agree with all of the comments or not, clearly there's been a concern in this community about Mr. Hunchard and at those meetings. So I just want to make sure I'm clear, because I know for veteran members of the group and maybe some of the other volunteers in town, they may be aware of that. This shouldn't be a surprise, because I've written about this in my memo regarding the ZBA, but I just want to make sure everybody is extraordinarily clear, so that tomorrow, however the vote goes, that happens. And maybe Attorney Sorrell can just make sure to explain that really quickly about the law continuation. Mark.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
The charter has a continuity
My bad.
provision in it that basically says, as the town administrator has stated, that even if somebody's term expires, they continue to hold the position until their replacement is either elected or appointed as a
Question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so in terms of resolutions, I believe it takes 14 days for resolutions to take effect under our charter. Does that stand true for appointments? Mark?
That is a hypothetical because of the recall provision in the charter, and arguably that would apply to legislative action as opposed to ratification, which is couldn't be challenged on that basis, the same basis as other legislation anyway.
So it's
It's
ambiguous.
not the same process.
Okay, that's a different process. So it's not ambiguous, it's
No.
non-ambiguous. It will take effect immediately, not in 14 days.
Correct.
Okay.
It's spelled out actually.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, if that was to happen, whether it was tabled, all the
Yeah.
stuff you said.
No action.
Bruce Hunchard's term ended in June, and I understand he had to stay in the seat because of the project, right? But why would that remain now in effect? What I don't understand is why wouldn't the people that were appointed, if there was still an empty seat, one of the alternates step up?
I made the decision through you, Mr. Chairman, to not nominate anyone else to replace Mr. Hunchard during the 444 process for the reasons I've explained many times before, including the fact that Ms. Whitmore had disqualified herself for missing requisite meetings. Mr. Hunchard, there were no associates to fill that seat.
Right.
Correct? So if I had nominated someone else, you would have had a 2-2, or 1-1, excuse me, possibly on a vote on the project. Could have been 2-0, but it could have been 0-2, 1-1, or 2-0, but would have given an advantage to the proponent to be able to go to court and say, this process got politicized, they changed all the membership in the middle of the hearing, and that would have been very favorable in a litigation piece for common sense, right? It wasn't a fair public hearing. But that doesn't, I made that decision and I made that clear in September or last summer. But it still holds true tonight. If for some reason Ms. Williams was, and because we have an absent member tonight, there is the possibility of a tie vote, which is a non-ratification, right? So if there was a tie vote, which wouldn't happen if Mr. LeBlanc was here, obviously it would have been an odd number. A tie vote would be a denial. Mr. Hunchard's term would continue, and then I would go back and nominate presumably someone else to fill Mr. Hunchard's tenure, but that may not be for another 2 or 3 weeks. And so Mr. Hunchard's term continues under the, is it continuity provision? The continuity provision in the town charter.
So you couldn't have one of the associates step up temporarily now?
Well, if Mr. Hunchard didn't attend the meeting, they could.
Okay.
Okay, but Mr. Hunchard's term would continue on
As an
until
active
he is
member.
replaced. And that's the same with any board member on any board or committee that's in the town charter. So I just want to make sure, I don't want people to wake up tomorrow or Friday and go, oh, well, wait a minute. So I just want to make sure people are very clear about that. And some part of the dynamic and why I'm explaining that is also because you have an even number of people here, right?
That makes sense.
So I just want to make sure that's clear. It's a unique dynamic. If you didn't have that, it would be different.
Can I ask a question to the chair? Why wouldn't Isabella replace Bruce?
Well, number one, in my estimation, Ms. Carter's, this is her first volunteer opportunity. I thought it was a better path for her to take that 6-month seat to try to make sure that she can fit this into her schedule and this works for her. Whereas Jen obviously has been volunteering for 6 years now. I think 2020, Jen, you go back, right? 2020 when you got on as an associate on the planning board. That was a memorable night, by the way. That was, Joe was here for that one too, and he was a candidate. And that took how many roll calls, Brian? 3, 4? Sorry for the memory. I'm just kind of looking out and I see Brian Taylor and Joe and Jen right in front of me. So Jen served as an associate on the planning board, ran for the planning board, was on the master plan committee, and was obviously significantly committed to this. And so I thought that having her for the 2.5-year seat would be appropriate. But even if you have Ms. Carter in that seat, it's the same dynamic. right? I mean, you voted to affirm her unanimously tonight, but, you know, I put out a packet last Friday, they applied last year. I mean, you know, it's like, you could have said the same thing to Ms. Carter and said, oh, well, we don't, I don't know if you guys are gonna vote for them or not. So, I mean, it's like, it's tough, it's a tough call.
My thinking here was just that if the need was to replace Bruce, which you have got.
Yeah.
Okay. But we had Isabella, she's gotten approved. She could replace him. That would leave you with still short one person on the board. Just take this hypothetically. And we have an associate that Joe couldn't, vote on the 404, but he could vote on everything else, and he's not, conflicted.
Well, from my standpoint, both candidates are extraordinarily qualified. I obviously am pushing and would suggest to all of you to ratify both of them. And I understand other people may have different opinions on that, and I totally respect that. But when I'm going through the nomination and thinking through, and I've already explained why these two folks are qualified, I go through with it thinking these two folks should be ratified. They're both very qualified. They're going to improve the trust and restoration in the ZBA. I felt with Ms. Carter obviously volunteering for 6 months, for some reason, if this doesn't fit her schedule, she doesn't like it, or whatever reason, then we can nominate somebody else in June. But, I fully anticipate that she'll stick around for another 3 years, but I know that Jen's committed to the rest of the term, and so I nominated her for that particular seat. But I just, again, don't want people to wake up in a couple of days and go, oh, Bruce is at the hearing tomorrow night. He's presiding. How did this happen? And so I just want to make sure it's very clear that he will continue on in the charge.
Mark?
So that's just to clarify, short answer is, each of those people were nominated for a specific seat, not just at large.
Right.
So that means that Jen would take over as chair?
No, they'll have an election
They
tomorrow
have to
night.
vote, right?
The ZBA will reorganize, have like a chair, vice chair, clerk, right?
That's the way they'll vote.
We don't appoint the chairs or anything.
Right.
Obviously, Bruce has been chair for a long time.
So I was just kind of curious. I do think Joe got screwed, so I'll be honest with you. That's just my personal opinion. He's been on the board. Nothing against you two, Isabella and Jen. You're both more than qualified. But, I do feel that, Joe's been working a long time. He's been around town the whole time, and he knows his stuff. But, that was your call, but, that's what I think. And that's why I want to move forward to try to get it a 5-man board, to be honest with you. So, outside of that, clerk will read the appointment. Oh, yeah, you want to go to
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Joe Evans again, 510 Shannon Road. I think it's important to add some color to Councilor Callaway's trip comment about this lawsuit. This lawsuit stemmed from 2 applications that were made to the planning board on.
This is pending litigation. It's totally inappropriate to be discussed in open session. It's pending.
I don't know the law, so.
Through you, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if Mr. Evans wants to speak to this, and goes into court, and is admissible in the decision, that's his choice. I agree with Attorney Sorrell, but, I'm sure he's got some comments he wants to say.
Nothing I'm going to say is what I believe is confidential. This is all on public record. So I want to add a little bit of color to what I believe the lawsuit is over. There's 2 senior housing projects that were put before the planning board concurrently, one on Panther Way, one on Summer Street. Both projects 12 to 14 acres in size. Both projects, very similar number of units proposed. Both projects with some grade issues. I think it was actually identical, 8% grade issues that were brought up at the meetings. The Summer Street project was loaded with abutters, whereas the Panther Way project maybe had 1 or 2 abutters that had showed up. What I'd like to just let you know, and you can go back and look at the meetings on YouTube, is that the Summer Street project, it was cited by members of the planning board, Ms. Williams specifically, and I quote, "No critical need for senior housing in town, no critical need," and that we were already over our 2.5% threshold. I'm going to say another quote from Ms. Williams. Quote, "We don't need this in our inventory." Jump over to the Panther Way project. There was never such a quote mentioned at that for the Panther Way project. We didn't need it on Summer Street, but we need it over here a mile away. To me, that raises red flags. There's never been a clear explanation, as you have heard, the matters in litigation, and it frankly, it smells. It does. I've watched numerous planning board meetings. I've been in front of the planning board. There's certain members, there's certain people that get in front of these boards that, in my opinion, are treated differently than others. You see all smiles when the favorite developer walks in front of the planning board. There's a room full of smiles from the planning board. Another developer or applicant gets in front of that planning board, and I'm not saying this happens all the time, but it's almost as if, what the hell are you doing here? And I saw that. You can go back and watch the meetings for those two projects. So I wanted to bring that up, and nothing against either developer. They're both reputable people. They've both done great projects in town. So that's not my, I have no problem with either one of them. They're both great guys. But it was done unfairly, in my opinion. I'd also just like to ask Ms. Williams, and this relates to a project that was done on King Street. Is it you're a licensed architect, and I believe your husband is as well, and your husband owns.
Order. There's to the chair. I think it's appropriate for the person at the microphone to make comments regarding the lawsuits. I don't think it's appropriate to have the person testifying have to respond to them.
More importantly, the comment should be addressed to the chair, not a interrogation of a witness.
Oh, okay, no problem.
She wants to respond.
Sure.
Respond,
I'll wait till they.
We gotta wrap it up though, Joe.
I understand. I'll try to be brief, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time. There's a project on King Street. My understanding is from reliable sources, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong when I'm not correct, but I believe that Ms. Williams' husband had done some work on the project, on a multifamily project that was put before the board on King Street. And I'd like to know if that's true or not, Mr. Chairman, if she could answer that.
Through the chair, no, my husband did not do that project on King Street. And can I just make a general comment?
Sure.
Every project that has been mentioned thus far is in a completely different zoning district, completely different scales of actual buildings themselves, and completely different circumstances. And so just like you get like press releases where you get like a quote taken out of, 5 paragraphs to, tell a story, I think that understanding the full story for every single project and the series of meetings and approval process and circumstances around every project and the clear reasoning for approving or denying every project that goes forward on any board is important before passing judgment.
I'd like to know if, Mr. Chairman, if her husband was ever engaged on that project, either paid or unpaid, if you could answer that question.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
My husband was approached by that developer early on, but did nothing with it. And the developer went with a completely different architect.
Were there drawings done or conceptual drawings done by your husband for that.
This
is ridiculous.
Yeah, this gotta, it's something you gotta talk about with your husband.
Yeah.
Well, it raises, the reason I bring it up, Mr. Chairman, is it raises a concern if there was work that was engaged on King Street, at whatever level you want to call it, that should have been disclosed.
But she's saying there wasn't.
I understand.
Yeah.
But it was, there wasn't, and then it was, well, he was asked about it.
And then he refused.
Yeah, through the chair, I mean, architects get asked to do projects all the time. And they might look at something and decide not to do it or not get hired. So the project that went in front of King Street was not my husband's project.
I understand it wasn't his project. All I asked was he engaged, did he do any bit of work on the project? And you're saying no?
No.
And that's fine, that answers my question. I just want to throw my support behind Joe Halligan. Again, he's been...
It's not, Mr. Chairman, it's not before you. Tim.
It's not before me tonight, so we can't talk about that.
Okay. He should be the chairman of that board.
Go ahead, Joe.
Hi, Joe Halligan again. Isn't it fun, we're all fighting for a position? I mean, how many people fight for positions on boards? And now everybody wants to get involved. So, it's funny how things boomerang around though, and it's comical. And again, I'll support anything that happens here tonight, I just have to be here to represent myself. It was 6, 7 years ago, as they just said, that we had a council meeting and a planning board meeting, 5 members and 9 councils. And 3 times a vote was taken. Jen was trying to get her feet wet, getting into it as an associate member of the planning board. 3 votes were taken. Tie score, tie score, tie score. This was going nowhere. Who raised his hand and said, I want to change my vote? And I voted for her. So, I work with all these people. I enjoy what I do. It turned out to be a great night. She was a great asset to the board. But I will tell you though, I usually consider myself one of the smartest guys in the room, but today I got beat. Jamie is one of the best. In a positive way. I'm not saying this in a negative way, because I love Jamie. There's a man that this council should never consider letting go. Just how this meeting was structured tonight, he did a great job. Had Jen gone first, I might have had a shot for that other one. But the way this meeting's going tonight, with Bruce and the threat of Bruce, I'm a dead duck right now. It was structured the perfect way. I commend him. He beat me tonight. He's a smart guy. Don't ever lose that, man.
Go ahead, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, am I going to be able to express my concerns about my application? Is this the proper time?
No, because I don't think,
When is the proper time?
I think that would be,
The gatekeeper is the TA. He makes the
it would be
appointment.
with him, it would be Jamie.
Mr. Chairman, I spoke to Mr. Allen the other day.
Yes, sir.
Am I correct?
You applied on Monday?
No. The question that I asked you,
Let me finish, Joe.
did I speak to you yesterday?
Again, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. One,
So
Mr.
am I.
McCann applied on Monday, came in the office. Tuesday morning, I called him at about 10 o'clock. We talked for about a half hour or so, and I think had an educated conversation, but apparently we didn't hear the same things that each other was saying. So I apologize for that. It's nothing against him. This is the first time I've ever seen him in my life. I don't know Joe. He's probably never met me. I think this is the first time. Happy to meet with him. If there was more time, there was another gentleman who applied for ZBA in mid-January. I met with him over Zoom last Friday. And I'm glad that there are more candidates coming in to want to fill in the ZBA. But Jen and Isabella were first in line, both extremely qualified candidates that fit all the criteria that's here. I think both of them addressed the concerns in the community with the Zoning Board of Appeals and integrity and et cetera, et cetera. Happy to meet with Mr. McCann, and we did talk yesterday, and I apologize to him that he feels like there was a lost in translation moment. But it's also rushed, right? I mean, it's like, just for clarity, just because he applied on Monday, I nominate you guys either ratify or don't. There's not gonna be a meeting where I'm coming up to you with 4 applicants and say you choose. In fact, Mr. Halligan just spoke eloquently of why you don't have 4 applicants. Because as you remember, Councilor DeLorco, it took us 2.5 hours that night after Joe did succeed his vote to Jen. So.
I didn't vote for Jen, I voted for Kobe.
You voted for Kobe, that's right.
And then you got Kobe.
That's right, you did vote.
I did.
So I'll see Mr. McCann, because he's gonna but I mean, tonight the conversation's around her, I'm happy to meet with him, of course, but I just didn't have any time yesterday to physically meet, but I did obviously talk to him on the phone for 30 or 40 minutes.
So I think you and him have to get together.
Mr. DeLocco, I'm not going to walk away from this mic until somebody clarifies for me why my application cannot be recognized. There is not a drop dead date for applicants to submit for this position.
I agree with you.
Correct?
I agree with you, but.
Finally, once tonight, I'm gonna be correct. Because everything else that I've said this evening, earlier and now, is still correct. Still correct. Mr. Helen, tonight on 2 occasions, and even yesterday when we spoke, you told me you have a hard time getting applicants to come before the zoning board of appeals. And tonight, all we're doing is, Mr. Halligan just said, we're arguing about applicants, so many applicants for this position.
As I said
Somebody tell me,
before.
please, I still haven't heard
Sure.
why I can't be heard on this.
Because it has to go through him.
I spoke to him yesterday. I spoke to the gentleman yesterday.
So first of all, it's a 48-hour, it's an open meeting law issue first and foremost. I put the nominations out with a holiday on Monday, I put them out on Friday for 48 hours. I can't just change the agenda tomorrow and tell Ms. Carter or Ms. Williams, you're out, I'm gonna put Joe McCann or someone else in. Like it's an open meeting law violation, number 1. Number 2, and I'll be blunt, yes, we are looking for applicants, and I'm glad that you applied, Mr. McCann, and I'm also glad that the gentleman in January, a couple weeks ago, applied, okay? But up until 2 weeks ago, I had 2 people, and fortunately, they're extraordinarily bright, talented, and qualified. But I find it disheartening a little, I'll be very open about this, that 2 nominees go out on Friday, and then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 days later, everybody wants to change everything. Because, oh, wow, we don't like one of the candidates. Fair enough. If you have an opinion and the councilors want to vote against Ms. Williams, that's absolutely within your right. All due respect to all of you, and absolutely you can vote the way that y'all want to vote, right? But it's not fair to them either to all of a sudden wake up Tuesday morning and just start saying, well, we're just going to start cherry plucking everywhere. And I'm a little disappointed that people are really reacting, obviously, as you've heard tonight, to one individual. I haven't heard any critique of Ms. Carter. I'm only hearing critique of Ms. Williams because of her previous work on the planning board and maybe some other factors. But that's it. I can't just change the agenda Tuesday afternoon to consider other people. And by the way, the process in the charter is clear. I've already said it 10 times tonight. I wish Mr. McCann would acknowledge this. I nominate, you ratify. So therefore, you're not going to get 5 people that I'm going to hand over to you to do a pick. If you vote down Jen tonight, my charter will continue for as long as another ratification happens. I will nominate someone else in 2, 3, 4 weeks or whatever. Then you'll have an opportunity to vote yes or no on that person. If you vote them down or vote for it, whatever.
That's the way the charter.
That's the way the charter works.
That's the way the charter works.
Thank you very
Nothing
much.
we can do.
Mr. Zarko, if I may, through you and Mr. Allen, believe me, I have no objection to the 2 applicants that you're recommending. Overwhelmingly qualified for the position. Overwhelming. And I don't know either one of them. And I wish them both the best of luck. Believe me, I do. With that being said, Mr. Halligan, you talk about fairness. Mr. Halligan, as a gentleman who was speaking prior to me, he should have had first shot. I want to talk to fairness. That gentleman should have had first shot. And if you mentioned old blood, I sat on this council. You keep bringing up, I don't know if you're trying to do it as an insult to me that I don't know the rules of the council. I sat on this council. Some of these people weren't even born when I was here.
Yeah.
For 2 terms. I've given back to this, not only at my time on the Franklin Town Council. You people don't know what I have given back to the seniors. When the senior center was called Central Park Terrace, when not everybody could move in there. It was dedicated strictly to seniors. This individual has given and given and given back to the town of Franklin. I have been here in all my life. I will reside no place else but the town of Franklin. The town of Franklin. But what you're saying tonight, what you said yesterday, are 360 degrees different from the conversation that you should have said to me yesterday, Joe, you can't. I can't accept your application. That's not what you did. That's, no, Mr. Valacco, please, let me finish. That's not what you did yesterday. And I just want you to admit to it.
Joe, I'm not going to admit to something. I told you, I've had to explain a handful of times this evening the ratification process, and it still keeps coming up.
I understand the ratification
So I'm not,
process.
your application is a second-tier issue to the people that were already nominated on the agenda last Friday.
They were not nominated. They were
They
nominated
were.
tonight.
No, what are
They
you talking?
nominated from him.
I nominated.
Excuse me, my mistake. You were nominated tonight.
I nominated, no, I nominated last Friday. I put out an agenda and a packet.
Technically,
I mean, this
they were
is-
appointed.
Appointed.
They were appointed, not
To be
nominated.
ratified.
To be ratified, okay.
So we're all wrong.
But-
Mr. Sorrell, for the first time, is correct. I'm gonna give you a 1 over all the years that I've known you. Anyhow, and then I say that, hold on, please don't take it. So this means nothing to, I'm not gonna be able to push on this at all.
It doesn't mean nothing. It means there's, again, in the future, right? You're right, an associate could get bumped up.
Understood.
The gentleman that applied 2 weeks before you, I could nominate, or I could possibly nominate you.
Yeah.
But I'm a little frustrated right now. This has been 2 hours over semantics that feels like, how do you not know I put out an agenda last Friday? Like, I
Why don't
publicly
we-
posted the
why
names,
don't-
and I think what happened was,
Why don't we move on and get this,
Yeah.
and vote for this, and like I said, we're moving forward to get more members on the board, hopefully, so we can look forward into this, and who knows if an associate member's gonna leave, then then something else happens. Or if poor Isabella in 6 months says, I can't do it because it's too much with my kids, so. And that
Or
can
someone has a
happen.
family issue, has to,
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
Whatever.
geez.
I'm gonna take 30 more seconds of your time. I'll table this. I'll forget about it. I won't even come back to it. I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm not even gonna entertain it again, whether it be today, tomorrow, 3 years. I probably won't be here in 3 years. You won't see me again apply for this position. Now I'm gonna tell you how I feel about how things are done up here. And especially the way that I have the right to speak, sir.
Yeah,
Is that
but
the
about this
discretion of the
issue,
chair?
Joe, about this issue.
I'm gonna speak the way I want unless you shut that mic off on me. I'm gonna speak the way that I want. I don't like the way things go in some of these meetings. I don't like the way that people are treated when they come before you, sir. And the way that you treat other councilors. You think that you're up here and everybody else is down here. You're not. You're not. What you tend to forget, and this will be my last statement, you work for us.
Right.
You work for us. We don't work for you. And you get paid a very good piece of change to do it. And not to treat people like this. Lower than you. I'm done.
All right, let's go. We're gonna call, we're gonna read the appointment.
If we're there, I'll happily read it, Mr. Chairman. This is an appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The town administrator has appointed the following individual to serve from the Zoning Board of Appeals with term to be effective January 21st, 2026 and to expire as stated below. Jennifer Williams of 28 Queen Street in Franklin, term to expire June 30th, 2028. The motion is to ratify the appointment by the town administrator of this individual named above to serve on the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term to become effective January 21st, 2026, and to expire as stated above.
Moved.
So moved. Second. Second. Have a second. All in favor?
Aye. Any
Opposed? Motion carries.
We are now producing this in collaboration with Franklin TV and Franklin Public Radio. This podcast is my public service effort for Franklin, but we can't do it alone. We can always use your help. How can you help? If you can use the information that you find here, please tell your friends and neighbors. If you don't like something here, please let me know. Through this feedback loop, we can continue to make improvements. And I thank you for listening. For additional information, please visit franklinmatters.org. If you have questions or comments, you can reach me directly at suresteve@gmail.com. The music for the intro and exit was provided by Michael Clark and the group East of Shirley. The piece is titled Ernesto Mañana, copyright Michael Clark and Tintype Tunes in 2008, and used with their permission. I hope you enjoy. By the way, you can also subscribe and listen to Franklin Matters Radio on your favorite podcast app. Search in podcasts for Franklin Matters.